What if the reason your life keeps repeating the same frustrating patterns isn't a lack of willpower, but a failure to recognize the invisible currents that actually move the world? Most people believe they are the masters of their decisions, yet they find themselves drifting toward the same broken relationships, the same financial ceilings, and the same internal anxieties year after year, as if a hidden script is being followed. Imagine standing on a small boat in the middle of a vast ocean. You can row with all your strength, but if you do not understand the tides or the wind, you will eventually end up exactly where the water wants you to be. Thousands of years ago, a mysterious tradition attributed to a figure known as Hermes Trismegistus spoke of 7 laws that govern everything from the rotation of distant galaxies to the silent thoughts in your mind. These aren't just ancient theories found in the dusty pages of the Kybalion. They are the fundamental mechanics of existence. There is a specific mechanism hidden in these Hermetic principles that explains why some years feel like a profound breakthrough, while others feel like a loop you cannot escape. It is a pattern that has been hiding in plain sight, waiting for your perception to sharpen. In this journey, we are going to decode these 7 forgotten laws, moving beyond surface-level translations and into the actual practice of resetting your reality. We will explore why your mental state dictates the physical world around you, how to use the inevitable rhythm of the universe to your advantage instead of fighting against it, and how to identify the specific signals that a new cycle is ready to begin. By the end, we will face a question that rewrites everything we think we know about our personal power and the nature of the time we inhabit. This isn't about making a typical New Year's resolution that fades by February. This is about understanding the underlying code of the experience we call life. So if these laws have governed every single second of your existence without your conscious consent, what happens the moment you finally learn how to use them? Think of your daily reality not as a collection of solid, unchangeable objects, but as a reflection in a mirror. When you see something in that reflection you do not like, your first instinct is often to reach out and try to scrub the surface of the glass. You try to manipulate people, force your finances to change through sheer exhaustion, or demand that the world behave differently. But no matter how hard you scrub the mirror, the image remains the same, because the source of the reflection hasn't moved. Our mistake is that we spend our entire lives fighting the effect while completely ignoring the cause. We have been trained to believe that life happens to us, when the ancient wisdom of the Kybalion suggests that life is actually happening through us. The mainstream view of our world is strictly mechanical. We are told that we are biological accidents in a cold, material universe governed by random chance and survival of the fittest. In this paradigm, if you want a new life, you simply work harder, move faster, and scream louder. But if this purely material approach worked, why are we more stressed, more disconnected, and more stuck in repetitive cycles than ever before? The ancient mystery schools, which culminated in the Hermetic teachings, proposed a different model. They suggested that the universe functions less like a giant machine and more like a great infinite mind. In this view, your brain is not a generator of reality, but a sophisticated receiver. If the music coming through your radio is discordant, you don't take the radio apart. You change the frequency you are tuned into. What if every ancient tradition that spoke of awakening or rebirth wasn't talking about a religious conversion, but about a fundamental shift in your internal frequency? What if the restarting of a life or a year has nothing to do with a calendar date and everything to do with realigning yourself with the silent architecture of existence? We often feel like we are walking through a dark room, constantly bruising our shins on the furniture of life. We call these bruises bad luck or failures, but the Hermetic laws are like a light switch. Once the light is on, the furniture hasn't moved, but you can finally see the path between the obstacles. This isn't just an abstract philosophy to be pondered in a library. It is a practical, almost mathematical framework for human experience. You have likely noticed this in your own life already. Have you ever had a day where one small negative thought spiraled into a series of unfortunate events, as if the universe was piling on you? Or perhaps a day where a single moment of clarity led to an effortless flow of opportunities? These aren't random occurrences. They are the observable feedback loops of a system that operates on precise rules. There are 7 specific markers, 7 pillars of wisdom that dictate how this feedback works. Once you understand the first of these, the illusion of a solid and unyielding world begins to dissolve, revealing the fluid nature of the life you are about to create. Let's decode the first law, for it is the foundation upon which all other miracles are built. The first pillar of this ancient architecture is the principle of mentalism. It tells us that the all is mind, the universe is mental. This is the hardest concept for our modern materialist brains to grasp because we are taught that our thoughts are quiet whispers locked inside our skulls. We see the world as a hard, physical place and our minds as mere observers of it. But the Hermetic masters suggest the opposite. They propose that the universe itself exists within the mind of the Absolute, and consequently, your personal reality is a localized expression of that same mental substance. If you want to restart your life, you must stop trying to move the furniture of your circumstances and start addressing the consciousness that perceives and creates them. You have likely experienced this when you find yourself in a state of deep obsession or fear. When you are worried about a specific failure, you begin to see evidence of that potential failure everywhere. It's as if the world is conspiring to prove your anxieties correct. This isn't just a psychological bias. It is the mental nature of reality, responding to the blueprint you are providing. If the universe is mental, then your thoughts are not just reflections of reality. They are the clay from which reality is sculpted. The ancient Egyptians symbolized this through the god Thoth, the master of words and thought, who spoke the world into existence. The Vedas called it Maya, the grand illusion sustained by the cosmic mind. They all point to the same truth. The quality of your upcoming year will be determined entirely by the mental atmosphere you inhabit. To put this into practice as you begin a new cycle, you must become a guardian of your mental gates. Here is the exercise. For the next 7 days, treat every thought as if it were a physical seed you are planting in a garden you are forced to live in. When a thought of lack or "I can't" arises, do not fight it, as fighting only gives it more mental energy. Instead, simply label it as an old program. The act of noticing the thought creates a distance between your true self and the mental chatter. You are not the thought, you are the mind that contains it. By shifting your identity from the participant to the observer, you begin to take control of the mental substance of your life. This brings us to a deeper question. If the world is a reflection of the mind, how does that reflection actually manifest in our physical surroundings? This leads us to the second pillar, the principle of correspondence, famously summarized as above, so below, as below, so above. This law explains that there is a harmony, a perfect agreement between the various planes of manifestation. What happens in the stars is reflected in the atoms. What happens in your soul is reflected in your social circle, your bank account, and your health. When we talk about restarting our lives, we often look for a grand, external change, a new job, a new city, a new partner. But according to correspondence, these external changes are merely symptoms. If you want to change the above of your life's direction, you must change the below of your internal state. Think of it as a holographic image. If you cut a hologram into 1,000 pieces, each tiny fragment still contains the entire image. Your life is exactly like that. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. If your desk is a chaotic mess of unfinished tasks, it is a direct correspondence to a cluttered and indecisive mind. You cannot expect a year of clarity and breakthrough if your immediate environment and daily habits correspond to stagnation and confusion. The Stoics understood this well, emphasizing that we should focus only on what is within our control, our internal character, because the external world will inevitably fall into line with that character. To apply this now, look at one small physical area of your life that feels stagnant. It could be your bedroom, your digital files, or even your morning routine. Clean it, organize it, and bring it into a state of order with intense intention. As you clear the physical clutter, hold the mental intention that you are clearing the path for your new year. You are using the law of correspondence to send a signal to the universe that you are ready for a higher order of experience. You are fixing the below to force the above to shift. But how does this shift actually move from the mind into the world? It moves through the third law, the principle that explains why everything in the universe is in constant motion. The principle of vibration tells us that nothing rests. Everything moves, everything vibrates. From the lowest form of matter to the highest form of spirit, the only difference is the rate of frequency. Science now confirms this. What we perceive as solid matter is actually a dizzying dance of subatomic particles vibrating at incredible speeds. In the context of restarting your life, this means that your current life is simply a specific frequency you are currently tuned into. If you feel stuck, it is because you have allowed your personal vibration to become heavy, slow, and repetitive. To change your life, You don't need to find a new one. You need to change your frequency until the old reality can no longer hold on to you. You can feel this vibration in people and places. Have you ever walked into a room and felt an immediate sense of heaviness or tension, even if no one was speaking? Or met someone whose presence felt like a burst of sunlight? You were sensing their vibrational rate. The ancient mystery schools taught that he who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. This is because vibration is the bridge between the mental and the physical. Your emotions are the primary way you tune your vibration. Fear, guilt, and shame are low, slow vibrations. Joy, gratitude, and purpose are high, fast vibrations. You cannot manifest a high vibration life while living in a low vibration emotional state. The practical shift for your new cycle is what I call the vibrational audit. For one day, pay attention to how your energy drops or rises based on the media you consume, the people you talk to, and the food you eat. If you spend 3 hours scrolling through negative news, you are lowering your frequency to match that chaos. To reset, you must intentionally introduce higher frequencies. This can be as simple as listening to music that moves you, walking in nature, or practicing deep rhythmic breathing. The goal is not to be happy all the time, but to be resonant with the life you want to lead. When you raise your vibration, you literally become invisible to the problems that exist on lower frequencies. But even as you rise, you will encounter the dual nature of our world, which brings us to the fourth law. The principle of polarity states that everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Think of a thermometer. Where does cold end and heat begin? There is no fixed point. They are simply two poles of the same thing called temperature. The same is true for love and hate, or success and failure. They are not two different things. They are the same thing at different degrees of expression. This is a massive revelation for anyone trying to break repetitive patterns. It means that the failure you experienced last year contains the exact same energy as the success you want this year. You don't need to destroy the negative. You simply need to slide the scale toward the other pole. This is the secret of mental transmutation. If you are feeling a deep sense of fear about the future, the Hermetic Master doesn't try to kill the fear. They recognize that fear is simply the negative pole of courage. By focusing on the vibration of courage, they begin to polarize their mind toward the positive end of the same spectrum. It's like turning a dial. You aren't changing the station. You are just turning up the volume on the part of the signal you want to hear. Everything you find wrong with your life right now is just a distorted or low-degree version of something that could be right. Your greatest weakness is often just your greatest strength standing at the wrong pole. To use polarity to reset your year, identify your biggest blockage. If it is financial lack, realize that lack is just the lower degree of abundance. Instead of focusing on the void, start identifying the small ways abundance is already present. The air you breathe, the knowledge you have, the connections you've made. By acknowledging the presence of the thing, even in its small degree, you begin to slide your consciousness toward the positive pole. You stop fighting the darkness and start turning up the light. However, as you move along this scale, you must be aware that the universe has a natural swing, a movement that can either carry you forward or drag you back. The fifth pillar is the principle of rhythm. It tells us that everything flows, out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. This law is the reason why people often start the year with great intensity, only to crash and burn by mid-February. They are victims of the pendulum. They swung hard toward discipline, and the law of rhythm dictated an equal swing back toward lethargy. To truly reset your life, you must learn the Hermetic art of neutralization. The masters don't try to stop the pendulum. They learn to escape its effects. They do this by rising to a higher plane of consciousness, where the swing no longer touches them. Think of a storm at sea. On the surface, the waves are chaotic and destructive, swinging from peak to trough. But if you dive deep enough, the water is perfectly still, even while the storm rages above. This deep water is your higher self, the part of you that remains the witness. When you experience a down period in your life, a moment of sadness or a setback, the law of rhythm says this is natural. The mistake we make is identifying with the swing. We say, "I am depressed," instead of saying, "The rhythm is currently swinging toward the low point." Your practical task for the new year is to stop overreacting to the bad days. When you feel the rhythm swinging back toward old patterns, Do not panic. Simply observe it. Say to yourself, the pendulum is swinging, but I am the one watching it. By refusing to be moved by the swing, you neutralize its power over you. You maintain your center. This allows you to stay consistent while others are being tossed about by the tides of their moods. This consistency is vital because every movement you make is creating a specific ripple in the fabric of reality, leading us to the sixth law. The principle of cause and effect declares that every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. Most people are pawns on the chessboard of life. They are moved by the opinions of others, by their environment, by their inherited habits. They are the effect of 1,000 causes they didn't choose. But the goal of the Hermetic path is to become a mover instead of being moved. To restart your life, you must stop being the effect and start becoming the cause. You must realize that your current life is the harvest of seeds you planted months or years ago. If you don't like the fruit, you must change the seeds you are sowing today. There is no such thing as luck. What we call luck is simply the result of causes that were set in motion, perhaps in secret or in a state of mind we have forgotten. When you complain about your circumstances, you are essentially arguing with the law of cause and effect. It is as if you planted thistles and are now angry that they aren't grapes. To break a repetitive pattern, you must identify the hidden causes. These are often your subconscious beliefs and your daily automatic reactions. If you always react to criticism with anger, that anger is a cause that will inevitably produce the effect of broken relationships. If you want a year of harmony, you must consciously sow the cause of patience. The practice here is the pause of power. Before you react to any situation today, especially a frustrating one, pause for 3 seconds. In that pause, realize that your reaction is a cause that will create a future effect. Ask yourself, do I want the harvest that this reaction will produce? By choosing a conscious response over an automatic reaction, you are stepping off the bottom of the chessboard and becoming the hand that moves the pieces. You are becoming the master of your destiny. But creation, as we will see in the final law, is not just about doing, it is about the balance of two fundamental energies. The seventh and final pillar is the principle of gender. Sayed states that gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. This law goes far beyond physical sex. It speaks of the two energies required for all creation. The masculine energy is the will, the directive, active, and protective force. The feminine energy is the conception, the creative, intuitive, and nurturing force. If you want to birth a new life, you must balance these two within yourself. Many people fail to change because they are too masculine in their approach. All hustle, all force, all logic, without the feminine space for intuition and gestation. Or they are too feminine, all dreaming, all feeling, all imagining, without the masculine will to take action. Think of a seed. The masculine force is the sun that provides the energy and the direction, but the feminine force is the dark, rich soil that actually does the work of transformation. One cannot function without the other. To reset your life, you must look at which energy you are neglecting. Are you all plans and no heart, or all heart and no structure? Your new year requires a marriage of these two. You must have a clear vision, masculine, but also a deep intuitive trust in the process, feminine. You must work hard, masculine, but also know when to rest and receive, feminine. To apply this, look at your goals for the coming cycle. For every action step you have planned, create a corresponding contemplative space. If you have a goal to start a business, the masculine part is the business plan. The feminine part is spending time in silence, visualizing the feeling of that business succeeding. When these two energies are perfectly balanced, the result is not just change, it is a total rebirth. You are no longer just rearranging your life. You are manifesting a new version of yourself from the primordial energies of the universe. Now that we have the full map of these 7 laws, we must face the most staggering truth of all, one that connects these principles into a single life-altering revelation. We have traveled through the 7 pillars of the Kybalion, from the foundational realization that the universe is mental to the delicate balance of cosmic gender. But here is where the journey takes a turn into the truly extraordinary. If you look closely at these laws, you begin to notice a startling paradox. We speak of these laws as if they are external forces, like gravity or the speed of light, acting upon us from the outside. But if the first and most important law is that the all is mind, then where do these laws actually reside? If the universe is a mental construct, then these 7 principles are not rules imposed upon your life by a distant creator. They are the very fabric of your own consciousness. Here is the twist that recontextualizes everything we have discussed. You are not a traveler trying to navigate the laws of the universe. You are the mind in which the universe and its laws are currently unfolding. When you use the principle of correspondence to change your environment, you aren't just performing a clever psychological trick. You are rearranging the furniture of your own infinite nature. When you harmonize your vibration, you aren't just tuning in to a better life. You are remembering a frequency that you yourself composed. This leads us to a staggering possibility regarding the new year and the concept of time. We celebrate the turning of a calendar as a reset. But what if time itself is just a mental tool used by the mind to experience its own growth in stages? What if your higher self, the version of you that already lives in the abundance, peace, and clarity you seek, isn't a distant future being? What if that self is actually the cause, and your present experience is the effect traveling backward through the law of rhythm to meet you? Could it be that your intuition, those sudden flashes of knowing that we call the feminine principle of gender, are actually echoes from a future self that has already mastered these laws, reaching back to nudge you toward the right pole of your existence? If the measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left, then perhaps your deepest struggles are simply the necessary momentum required to swing you into your greatest awakening. This realization brings with it a heavy yet beautiful responsibility. If these laws are the architecture of your soul, then the era of being a victim is over. You can no longer point to the economy, your upbringing, or your bad luck as the authors of your story. Those are merely the effects of causes that were set in motion while you were still asleep to your own power. To truly restart your life, you must accept the weight of your own sovereignty. It is a terrifying thought to realize that we are responsible for the vibration we project, yet it is also the only path to true freedom. If you created the loop of the past through unconscious mentalism, you have the exact same power to create a masterpiece of the future through conscious will. The real implication of the Hermetic path is that you must become an active participant in the divine creative process. This changes how you wake up in the morning. You no longer ask, "What will happen to me today?" Instead, you ask, "What causes will I set in motion today? Which pole will I occupy? What rhythm will I harmonize with?" You begin to see every person you meet and every challenge you face as a mirror, reflecting a part of your own mental state back to you. If you meet someone who is angry, instead of reacting with anger, which would only strengthen that low vibration, you recognize the law of polarity and choose to hold the pole of peace. In doing so, you don't just change your day, you actually begin to shift the collective mind of everyone around you. You become a light bearer, a person who understands that by changing the within, the without has no choice but to follow. As we stand at the threshold of a new cycle, let us look at the ancient wisdom once more. The Emerald Tablet, the source of these Hermetic insights, reminds us that that which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below, to do the miracles of one only thing. This one only thing is the experience of your own existence. We spend so much of our lives searching for the secret to success or the key to happiness, but the secret has always been the seeker themselves. You are the laboratory, the alchemist, and the gold. The new year is not a date on a calendar. It is a state of mind that has decided to no longer be moved by the shadows on the wall. So, we are left with a final, cosmic question. If the universe is mental, and you are the mind experiencing itself through this temporary human form, then who is the one truly observing these words right now? Are you the person with a name and a history, or are you the silent witness that has existed since before the first vibration was set in motion? The mystics say that the ultimate reality cannot be spoken, only lived. Perhaps the reason we find these ancient laws so fascinating is because they don't teach us anything new. Instead, they act as a mirror, showing us what we have always been but had temporarily forgotten. The hunt for truth never really ends because the truth is an infinite ocean and we have only just begun to wet our feet at the shore. But now, at least, you know how to read the tides. You know that the storm is just a rhythm and the darkness is just a lower degree of the light. If these ideas have stirred something within you, if you feel the weight of these laws pulling you toward a deeper understanding, consider subscribing. This channel is not a destination where final answers are given. It is a journey into the heart of the mystery, a continuous hunt for the knowledge that was hidden in plain sight. We explore these shadows together, not to find an end, but to find a deeper beginning. The year is new only if the mind is new. The law is eternal, but your application of it is your unique contribution to the music of the spheres. Step into this new cycle not as a guest of reality, but as its architect. The hunt continues.